Good afternoon, everyone. So, going on to the case, this patient is a 45-year-old female who came with a lot of back pain with left lower limb radiculopathy, severe pain. She was not responding to conservative management. She had some neuro deficit as well. Otherwise, no comorbidities. This is what the MRI showed. She had a left L5S1 disc herniation, and for this, we advise this patient to undergo a microlumbar discectomy, and that is what was done. Patient did very well, had good relief in symptoms, and was discharged the next day after surgery. Now, after that, 3 weeks later, she comes back with a lot of back pain. She's got now back pain, she's got some buttock pain, and otherwise she's still mobilizing, she's quite okay, no constitutive symptoms. At this stage, how often do we see this kind of a scenario? Kshitij, do these patients sometimes come back with some amount of back pain, maybe in 3 weeks to a month, and do you want to investigate them immediately when they come back?
It depends on the kind of back pain. A lot of patients complain of back pain, but if you are worried about back pain being because of infection, then that kind of back pain is quite severe.
So
it is like throbbing pain, patient is not able to turn in bed. It is very unusual kind of pain if you have an infection related back pain.
So this patient came back with some degree of back pain and some buttock pain, but she's still mobilizing, she's quite okay.
Yeah, then no.
Yeah, so a lot of patients do come back with some amount of back pain after discectomies, and I don't think we need to really investigate them very seriously. But then in this particular case, she came back with severe pain now, a lot of back pain, and now she's not able to move around at all. And at this stage, then we had to admit this patient and get investigations done.
This is the typical time frame also.
Yeah.
So like a post-discectomy discitis would typically be presenting at this point in time, not at the first week or the second week.
That's right. That's why I made the history accordingly. So at this stage, Amit, investigations, how helpful are these blood investigations for this patient?
So my main, focus is mostly on CRP, because in the initial post-op period, CRP will be slightly high, but at 4 weeks, if the CRP is very high, and patient knows that something wrong is going on in the body. So if the symptoms are severe, then probably I will definitely go ahead and investigate. Recurrent disc, discitis, these are the things which will be at the back of my mind. So I'll definitely go for an MRI if the patient feels that symptoms are worsening.
So MRI straight away at this stage?
Yeah, what else would hold you back from doing an MRI? Symptoms are severe enough, now.
So if this ESR is 75, don't you want to just straight away start antibiotics for this patient?
Which antibiotic?
Sorry?
Which antibiotic?
You tell me.
No, I don't know. I need to know whether whether I'm treating the infection also or not. That also I don't know.
What is the significance of ESR?
ESR I don't look into much because it trails. There is a lot of lag period, between the ESR changing the values. So I do ESR. If the ESR is in normal range, then I get little reassured. But my focus mostly is on CRP because the changes in the CRP values are sort of more immediate. So for the follow-up period also, it's a CRP. Keeping an eye on the CRP is easier rather than ESR.
Arjun, any comments on blood cultures at this stage?
So blood culture, two sets, urine culture, and MRI with contrast.
How
so
useful?
One thing, we are in the infection session. You know, that we know that this patient probably has, discitis.
Yeah.
So that's why we are kind of, going for these blood cultures and everything. But right now we don't know. The first thing I will do is an MRI to know whether are we really dealing with the infection or something else.
Yeah. So this is what the MRI showed. Arjun, you want to comment on the MRI?
So that stir sequence is showing end plate changes.
So we know that there is some discitis or extra inflammatory changes going on here. Sam sir, is it sure shot that this is infection here, or could this be just some aseptic inflammatory changes?
I think given the entire clinical picture, which is the pain, which is severe in discitis, the MRI, the ESR, CRP, which you need to have two, by the way. What I mean to say, you need to see that there's a rising CRP and a rising ESR, though at 4 weeks it's okay. But you can do a few CT cuts. So in a CT cuts, if you see, the end plates, there are erosions at the end plates, then that is more likely to be infection. Yeah, so this is clearly the upper L5 end plate is showing clear erosions even in that. So then this is discitis. In every which way, this is post-op discitis.
Dr. ABHAY, what about biopsy in this? I mean, Arjun said about getting blood cultures and urine cultures done. Is that useful at all?
If the patient is not systemically toxic, that normally turns out negative. You would still want to get it done and check the box. So I fully agree with Arjun. But here I would, for various reasons, get a biopsy done and then plan antibiotics.
Would it change your treatment in any way, getting blood cultures or urine cultures?
Yeah, it puts one big component out of the way. Because if you get something there, for example, you get like a strongly positive Klebsiella in the urine, there's a very high chance that my local biopsy is going to be negative for culture, for histopath, for everything. So I have something to hang on. And it's such a simple test, so I would definitely do it.
Yeah. Dr. Amin Shah, sir, this kind of patients you've also seen very often, patients who undergo discectomies and then they come back later after a month and they have severe pain and you're suspecting infection. How often do you suggest a local biopsy for getting an organism?
Most of the time, if there is a good soft tissue component, then we can go ahead with the local biopsy. But if the pain and everything is less, then it's better to do an open and debride and do a fixation.
One of the most important things here, sir, you're talking about debridement fixation directly. These patients, they come with, they are very unhappy. Because you've told them that they will get better, the pain will go, and then they come back with so much of severe pain. And it is very difficult to explain to these patients, how you're going to treat this and all. So, what has your experience been in counseling these patients?
Pain is so severe most of the time. That unless you fuse and fix it, it is not going to reduce. And so one has to counsel the patient that any bone infection, it has to be eradicated and fixed and fused so that there is good stability, because subsequent instability is one of the reasons for the pain there.
So in this case, then how many would want to conserve the patient, get a biopsy done and start on IV antibiotics? Raise of hands. And how many patients would straight away go and debride the place and go for fusion, along with, of course, sending for culture and biopsy? So I think most people would want to go and you start with the IV antibiotics first and get some culture done.
Depends on whether it's my patient or yours.
Yeah. So I'll go straight ahead. This patient, I had to counsel the patient a lot about how things will, how to progress about it. We had to explain to the patient about getting a local biopsy versus straight away going and debriding and fusing it. And after doing a lot of counseling and explaining, the patient decided that they wanted better, quicker relief. And so we went ahead and did straight away surgical debridement and stabilization. And this is what was done. Still the local, this tissue came out as Staph aureus, and accordingly the IV antibiotics had to be started after consultation with infectious disease specialist. I had to give 3 weeks of IV Piptaz was given for this patient, and patient got quite better. The culture report, the ESR CRPs started coming down, and mainly clinically the patient was much better. And so I did not even get another MRI done for them.
Can I make some comments? Yeah.
Yes.
Can I make some comments on the surgery? So obviously in this day and age, today there are many ways of treating this. Starting from what I don't know how to do or I wouldn't do is an endoscopic.
Yeah.
So there are people who can do an endoscopic lavage and do this. I don't know, I mean, but I would be little skeptical about it. You can also do an anterior, you can do an ELIF or an
Yes.
OLIF kind of thing.
Yes.
What I would do based on my thing is, but I would have done an MIS TLIF for this. Because discitis is the ideal indication. You join a microlumbar midline, you just do an MIS TLIF. You need to just go from one side, and through small incisions you can finish it. And the other thing is, and here, I can be taken to the, to task for this, but I would not put a cage. I would just pack it with bone graft or put blocks. Like, no matter what the literature says, I am not going to put a cage. Because the last thing I want is an infected cage.
Acha. In your experience, you've seen, sir, after this?
There is no experience only, because I don't put.
Acha.
I only put bone graft. And they all heal.
I have had experience with other people putting cage and getting into a problem. I also don't prefer to put a cage. We had a case about 2 weeks back where for discitis, the same surgery was done and the diagnosis after a month was NTM. Okay. Now, non-tuberculous bacteria with a cage in front is a big problem. With the NTM, the infectious disease, and everybody is very, very unhappy because NTM does very badly with implants. And to put an implant in a place where it is difficult to remove.
That was a postoperative?
Postoperative discitis, yes.
Yeah.
So this cage would work with, like say, the typical staff or whatever, but if it's something odd, then
it is a problem.
Then it's a problem.
Also, the end plates are softened.
It's rare, but you never know now. You know, without a biopsy, you're putting a cage without knowing what organism it is.
Structurally, also it's a problem because end plates are softened up because of inflammation, and ALL is deficient unless proved otherwise in a post-op discitis, pyogenic. So I would be very wary of putting a cage. Bone graft is 100%
better than.
And tomorrow,
plus this cage is already outside anteriorly. It is because it's on one side and it's right at the anterior tip of L5.
Yeah.
So it has already breached your anterior annulus, this cage. So if there is any lucency around it and it fires in front, you're in a bit of a soup. Sorry, I don't mean to be so...
No, it's fine, it's fine. But yeah, the patient did
tomorrow,
well, so
if your infection is not eradicated, you can just remove the screws from behind that cage. That graft can still be there. Now, if you remove the screws only, now you'll be worried about that what to do with the cage.
If the infection is eradicated, it's going to end with fusion of that area. So it doesn't
but
make
see,
any
if it doesn't happen,
if it
doesn't happen, then you can just remove the screws with the graft there, being there on the anterior, which is not going to affect us. But if you leave that cage, you will be always worried about that this cage not slip backward, especially, and that metal piece is still there.
No, I don't have. Yes. Yes.
What if the diagnosis was there beforehand?
Then it's your choice. You can put it. Unknown infection, you don't know what it is, and putting that's a.
A good stabilization, and will give good. Yeah, I like to put this, and I've not had any problems till now in 20 years with that. Although we get less of this, yeah. Yeah.
For instance, in a discitis,
but we have always done cage with discitis.
the fusion is so fast that you will not get whatever, you will not get anything. Whereas here, as he said, end plates, your cage plates, your cage
Yeah.
migraine.
Yeah.
So whenever you do anything in surgery or in life, you must know the risk and benefit of every step.
Yeah.
So in this step of putting a cage, what is the risk versus benefit?
No, I understand.
In this case, I don't see the benefit. Like I don't see the upside of
My thinking was that it would give a better stabilization to the area because the patient is complaining of a lot of instability pain, and at the same time it would keep the foramen open so that they don't come back with radiculopathy, etc. later on. So.
But sir, to do that, you have knocked off one of the facets.
Yeah.
Which is one of the stabilizers of spine. So now
With this, if you would have left it that way, it can eventually collapse, and then there is a chance that the foramen can get narrower. So this is the thinking.
I think it's okay to.
put the cage, we have to knock off the facet. So we are actually destabilizing the spine more. And here is gone. So one of the two pillars we are taking out. Just a thought process that actually to stabilize the spine, we are inherently destabilizing it. But apart from cage, you have control graph.
Yes, of course.
You can put a structural graph.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah. Patients. All our patients do very well, sir.
Thank you, Satyen, for your case. We now have Dr.